All right, welcome back, guys. For the one or two of you besides me and Ryan that listen to these, week 12 in the books. 6 teams left. Saquon was our top scorer last week, and we got Ryan, just Ryan in the booth today. Say what's up.
What's up, everybody?
We're trying to get. I tried to get Johnny in here to say his last goodbye, but he's busy, and Fleming wants to hop on one of these at some point, so hopefully we'll have him in. But maybe we can get, if James is alive in a couple weeks, we can get James back in here probably. But
I don't even know who's watching these anymore. But
James.
no, these videos. Who's watching
Oh,
these?
who is? Yeah, I would guess us two.
Chime in the comments if you still watch these.
Yeah, chime on in, send it in the chat. I think it's Fleming and James. I don't think Huff and Jake watch these. There's a chance we'll get Johnny in here to watch it. No, there's actually a very
I
good
didn't.
chance we'll get Johnny to watch
I didn't think
this.
James would. I didn't think James would watch. But
Okay, he might not. Johnny, I expect Johnny and Fleming to watch this. That's about it. Anyway, top right in. Johnny's out of here, eliminated seventh. It's very surprising. I had me and him as locks to make it to the final. It doesn't make me feel very safe, except now I feel like I have a better team. I already felt like I had a better team than him, but now I have an even better team than anyone ever has in the league at this point. So I do feel safe. I feel safe this week after Brock Bowers and Josh Jacobs, but
yeah, you should feel safe.
I still feel like any given week I could go. I'm not a lock to make it to the championship as much as I want to believe I am. Yeah, really shook things up, Johnny going with the fab. So now it opens the door for a lot of other people to make it to the championship, I think. Good run for Johnny. Had a chokehold on the market. Top 25% last week, me and James. This is the last week where there's two in the top and the bottom. After this week, it's just a star and a trash can. No more flames and ice cubes. We averaged 143. That is down 11% from last week, 161 because Johnny popped off. And actually, besides last week, I mean, I guess. Oh, wait, I'll hold off until we get to the box and whisker. I'll point out something I saw about Johnny. But to the bottom 25%, Ryan and Fleming. Ryan picking up another trash can.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
They averaged 99. I think Ryan, you had like 96, and Fleming had 103 or something like that. Down 6% from last week of 105. And that is about
Buys probably played a role in that.
Yeah, I would believe it. And now this week we got no buys, so we should see it come back up for sure. Also, some good. This week is different, obviously. To state the obvious, we're recording this on Saturday after the Thursday and Friday games, so already 4 games have been played, so we already have a little bit of insight on who is not looking good and who's looking good.
I made my prediction before the Thursday games. Just, I mean, anybody can choose to believe or not believe that, but
oh boy,
well, we'll get there. But
yeah, I made my prediction out to after I made it after the Thursday and Friday games happened. I did not think far enough ahead to make my prediction. But here's the box and whisker, and what I was going to point out about Johnny is he had the killer week. Oh wait, did I not paste in? My bad. Well, it's okay. I'm not going to go do it. Johnny scored a crazy high last week. The week before, this is him right above David, the pink dot. And this week, he got last. So, like, he had 2 out of the last 3 weeks, he threw up duds, pretty much. Last week, you could argue, was a little bit of an outlier. I mean, he had some great players that had high ceilings, but also were volatile in a way. I mean, he had, like, Bowers put up, like, the worst week of his season last week. And, I got hurt by that in another league. My other Guillotine league I'm in happened. Also with Johnny, Jack, Fleming, I got eliminated. I had Bowers, just a tough blow. But in theory, maybe going back to me and Ryan's argument about the high ceiling, low floor guys, you have too many of those guys and they all line up in 1 week, you can go, even if your team looks really good on paper. I don't know. Ryan, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I don't know. Are you counting Bowers as...
No, I don't. I think Bowers absolutely broke below his floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny said it where David was, coming at him in the comments, and he was like, I would argue that, like, a lot of these guys are, like, high ceiling, high floor who busted. I would agree.
Yes.
Mixon, I don't know. It feels like so long ago at this point. But anyway, he had some didn't Amon Ra had a rough game.
Amon Ra had a bad game, but he put up a couple of those this year. A couple single digit performances.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm kind of on with Johnny on this one. I think he had some guys who, top 5 guys for the year. Mixon's a top 5 running back, busted. Like just guys
Top 5 running back
kind of
after missing 4 weeks.
yeah,
So,
and against the Titans,
right.
like
Well,
not
Titans actually have
on
an okay
correct,
defense.
but you probably would still think that it wouldn't
Yeah,
be a 0 game. It's not the Steelers or
for
somebody like
sure.
that.
For sure.
Yeah, tough luck for Johnny. But I mean the QJ start hurt. That
Yeah,
was
that was the questionable decision of the day, and he would be alive if he started almost anybody else.
just about anybody else.
Just about. He needed like 5 points, 6 points.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he actually only had 2 people score double-digit points, and that being Jaden Daniels putting up like 30, and then Nico Collins doing like 17, and then everyone else was a single digit, and then a 0 from QJ. Just a tough scene, like we said. His players either hit their floors or were even below their floors, and that can just happen. So it is what it is. We're already past the Thursday and Friday, so I'll hit on the Sunday night and the Monday night games.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, the Monday night is so boring. I just wanted to put a different game up here to look at. I will get there when we get there. Sunday night, 49ers, Bills. I could see an upset from the 49ers here. I think if Purdy plays, I haven't been following that too closely, but I know he's not guaranteed to play.
I don't think he is, actually.
Okay. Well, if he doesn't, then hammer Bills minus 6.
But the Niners, like, low-key need to win, or they're going to miss the playoffs.
I think they might miss the playoffs. The NFC is deep. Like, the in the hunt, if you compare, like, the in the hunt in the AFC versus the NFC, it is a lot deeper in the NFC. There's a lot of teams that could sneak in and bump a couple other teams out. But only CMC and Kittle from the Niners, and then Josh Allen, James Cook, and the Bills D. No receivers on either of these teams. Keon might be back, but Amari Cooper, Shakir, all kind of borderline, not good enough flex plays at this point. And then Debo is way too volatile. I understand why no one has him. And Jawan, maybe if it's no Purdy, then I get it. You can't really trust any of those guys. But in theory, one of them is bound to be good. But by that point, no one will be able to fit him in their lineup. And the Monday night game, Browns-Broncos. I mean, this actually could be interesting. Just from a fantasy perspective, it won't be. I have Sutton probably benching. Javonte Jacobs on his bench. And I have Broncos defense, who I am starting. So we have one starter from this game, and I don't think it's going to matter because he's on my team, and it's a defense. So
unless
I sure hope I'm not banking on the Broncos defense like on Monday night.
Well, I was also going to say you might actually need to pull him just in case Jameis goes. I mean, that's a position where theoretically negatives are not uncommon.
Correct. I think I'd have to be, if I'm within like 3 would be my number. If -3 kills me, I'm pulling him. But if it's like 4, I'm going to keep him in. I'm going to push for the higher points forward. Jameis is, even though he might throw up some touchdowns and put points on the board, there's going to be turnovers, no question about it. Sacks, all the above. Broncos defense has been good. All right, our Week 12 rankings. Johnny gets eliminated, averaging 118 points a week, 1,400 points on the year. I passed him again this week, 1,459. James and Huff in the 1,300s. Nobody in the 1,200s. There's like a chasm right here. And then Jake, Ryan, Fleming in the 1,100s. All averaging just below 100 points a week. That being below Phillip, Mark, JC's averages. Potter, pretty much right around that average on the year. So, interesting to see. But we know, as I've said before, Ryan and Fleming pull their guys often. So, kind of makes sense. The economy looks a lot different now. Weird to say that I have 35% of the market with $7, but that's where we're at with how little fab is left. I may have overspent last week, but at the same time, the fact that the 3rd and 4th place starting rosters are not getting dropped, I can't bank on studs being on people's benches getting dropped. Like, I want to lock in guys. I want to feel comfortable with my entire roster, including my bench, in 2 weeks. After that last week where a full team gets eliminated, I want to feel good by then. And I think most people should try to do the same thing, probably, because you can't bank on good guys being there later. Jake has $5. James has $4. That is above the average market share. Huff with 3, Ryan with 1, Fleming 0. $20 left in circulation. So
Yeah, can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you. So Ryan and Fleming and Huff, in theory, they've pretty much spent it all. I mean, we're
I
splitting.
got $1. Don't hate. I got $1.
That dollar can get you a stud at this point.
You can, and
One more.
I had 6. That would be up there, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Obviously,
you would be dead if you hadn't done it. So.
Yep.
But in retrospect, I've learned that I could have gotten more than just
$5
for Lamar.
Yeah, could have gotten more.
But I'm okay with Burrow. Like, I mean, my thinking was, my situation was, it's not like Lamar is my only hope. I had Burrow on the bench on his bye, so I can roll Burrow for the rest of the season, even with some Steelers matchups coming up. Anyway, that's it. Moving on. The Grim Reapers, a lot of new faces here. I had to pull some that are just no longer going to be rostered. If you're in the 2 category and you're no longer on someone's roster, I'm not including you on here anymore. So I pulled a couple. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But added in a lot. A lot came from Johnny. So Jaden Daniels added into here. Potter and Johnny. Joe Mixon added into here. Going all the way back to Joey. Joey and Johnny. Nico Collins, Phillip and Johnny. And George Pickens, JC and Johnny. All those guys are in the 2 group and are rostered currently. And QJ going into the, I didn't even have him on here before because I didn't. That Johnny, you know how we were like telling Johnny like we thought you were joking, or like we thought it was kind of just like a long shot that you even picked up QJ and had him on your team. I didn't even include him when he was in the 2s last week. I didn't even include him on here. I didn't think someone would roster him, so I wasn't. But you did. You went and pulled him, and now I had to pull him on. Now I have to pull him out of the slide as a 3. So Mark Andrews, Laporta, QJ, and also calling back to Isaiah Likely and Alec Pierce are the other 3s, but they're the lower tier 3s.
I left for like 45 seconds, so I hope you didn't ask me any questions.
I did not. Did you hear my QJ thing?
No.
That, he's now in the 3 group, and last week he was in the 2 group. And we were telling Johnny, like, we were surprised to see Johnny even roster him. We thought it was kind of a joke / like just a long shot.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a troll.
Thought it was a little bit of a troll. Yeah. Like, let's have fun. Like, and this proves it. He was in the 2 group last week, and I did not even have him on this slide because I didn't think anyone would roster him. But now here he is in the 3s, so I put him on here, even though he will not be started. Absolutely should not ever be started for the rest of the season, but made it into the 3 group with the tight ends here. But Laporta,
I thought about rostering him just to troll. This time really be a troll, but you can't kind of do that.
Right. But yeah, I picked up the Texans twins here, the Joe Mixon, Nico Collins. In theory, the Texans are kind of slumping a bit, and I am starting both of them, but they have a great matchup against the Jags this week, and then they're on bye. So then I'll have to figure out if I really want to start both of these guys every week. But they're studs in theory, like they are the entire offense. So I might, but in retrospect, I might have overspent on both of them. $5 for each at this point is kind of a lot, and the highest bid on Nico Collins was 1 besides me, so that was a little bit of a reach for me, I guess, but it's okay. Jake's got Ladd. Fleming has Bijan and Marvin Harrison Jr. Probably not starting, though. Huff has Devontae Adams on his bench. James picked up George Pickens for free. Ryan, you picked up Jaden Daniels. There we are. These are our Grim Reaper candidates that could jump up into the 3 group here. I guess at this point in the season is when we really start seeing the 4s. Maybe we can get someone to go higher than 4 this year. Someone will go to 4 this year.
It's actually a quiet year for Grim Reapers.
It is. These make sense though, or these 2 make sense. Mark Andrews and Laporta, high expectation guys that just didn't do it this year. We'll see about the rest of these. I wouldn't say any of these guys stand out to me. It's like, wow, they are really bad. I mean, if you're good enough to be on a starting roster enough, then it's the only way you're going to get onto this list anyway. So, anyway, enough talk on the Grim Reapers. My Week 12 reaction. So the shocking Johnny elimination opens up the door for others, but Eric may have already locked it up. I'm not trying to like hype myself up too much, but like my team is significantly better than everybody's, and I have the most fab. And with Johnny going, Johnny was the only one to really. If Johnny was still in, I wouldn't be able to improve my team that much because he had the fab to get whoever he wanted these next 2 weeks. But now I can kind of get whoever I want for these next 2 weeks to add on to my already good team. But for everyone else, it seems like the playing field has been leveled. It's like any of these other 5 besides me should have a chance. It doesn't really matter that my team is that much better than everyone's because then the other 5 are just kind of fighting for each other to not be last. So, I mean, right? I mean, is my point coming across? I guess that all you have to do is get.
I would agree.
You just have to get there, get to the championship. Not saying I'm going definitely in the championship, but in theory, if I am, all someone else has to do is be better than the other people in the league and get there with me, and then make the right starts in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the interesting thing is like even now, like looking at our projections, I forget what you were before the week, but I think it was like something like low 130s, and
I was like 129 and you were 128 or something. It was close.
Yeah, that's sort of like kind of what I'm saying is like your team could be an arm and a leg ahead, and it's like one player with like a slightly below average game, and then like on paper the projections are essentially the same, like
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's interesting, right? Like even if you had like, let's say you were, I don't know, 7 or 8 points ahead of me on paper, the like matchup projections, it's probably like what 55-45, so like uh even as like better on paper as your team is, like I don't think it's like in a one-on-one or one-on-one-on-one matchup, like it's definitely not super super clear cut.
Right. I mean, it is about having. I mean, it's luck. A lot of it is luck, but it's about making the
Correct.
right decisions. I'm benching Kenneth Walker this week, and just because I feel like my other guys are better, but there's a great chance Kenneth Walker goes off and he's on my bench, and that could suck. These decisions get harder late in the season, and all it takes is a couple duds, and then if a bunch of other teams just like Jake has just been kind of surviving off of a couple guys having good games, and then the rest of his guys not putting up complete duds. Um, you know,
Yep.
I do think I have a couple volatile guys in there. Nico Collins, I say, is that. And now we see Mixon could be a little volatile if he puts up a bad performance, but we will
I don't
see.
know what's up with Texans. It's just strange.
I'm hoping I get good insight this week against the Jaguars when they should have great games, both of them. I feel safe this week, so I'm just curious to see what they can do. Nico Collins and Joe
That's
Mixon.
a good feeling. That's a good feeling.
I'll roll them out there because I feel like they should be good. But if they're bad, then I may have decisions to make going into like the championship. Oh, and we aren't gonna. I might have forgot to change the rule, but there is not going to be a trade deadline. You can trade for as long as you want for the rest of the season.
I changed it. Yeah, I changed it.
Good job. So yeah, we'll see who can make the right moves right now with the minimal fab that's left and make the push for the championship in the Final Four. No buys this week, so should be like everyone's team is at their full capacity. We should see probably the legitimate worst team go unless something crazy happens.
I don't know. We'll get to it in predictions. I guess it's different now, but I like just looking at everybody's teams, and I guess this is a good segue into kind of where you're heading next. But I don't really think there's, and I haven't looked if Jake changed his lineup, but like
No.
everybody is pretty equal on paper. Like I think the last few weeks I've been going through like when I'm making the predictions, it's like it feels like Jake's been the obvious choice for
Weeks.
the last month. I don't think it's that obvious this week.
It isn't.
Like his team's fine at this point.
I'm not
like
predicting Jake. I mean, spoiler alert. Based on the performances he already had with Jonnu and those guys, like I think he's gonna make it through another week.
yeah, I am predicting Jake. So I guess there's the other spoiler, but it's not out of spite this week. Like I think it is really a razor thin margin. Like that's not a Ryan being spiteful prediction like the last 2 whatever weeks I have been. Like I think he had some tough matchups. We saw with Swift. Like that was a tough one.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to get behind early and
They did.
probably abandon the run. Which I think was exactly what happened. But and I can't remember off the top of my head who else he had. But the Ravens spread it around. I think Zay Flowers. Like I don't know if he's startable at this point. Like maybe he's still a bench. a bench player or like a flex too, but I think he's probably weak at this point. So anyway, but all that to say, like it's a razor thin margin. That's where I was going with that.
It is, yeah.
I guess
I mean,
I basically just did the prediction slide, but
pretty much. But I mean, yeah, on
but
the Zay Flowers point, I agree. I think Zay Flowers could have a bad game.
yeah.
And there are. I'm looking at waivers right now. Like he could have like Dowdle was not rostered. I dropped him last week.
Yeah,
And he
and
had a great
I
game.
don't think that's a bad drop. Like
No, but wouldn't have been a bad
Dowdle
start for someone else this week in the flex.
for sure. It would have been a risky start, but just based what he does. I think this was his first rushing touchdown. Like
Oh my
he's
god, it was. He had his receiving
yeah.
touchdowns, but you're right.
Yeah, he would have been a risky start. I would like it, but yeah, I mean he's in a 6-team league.
Yeah,
Dowdle is not probably a starter.
Right. I'm looking like Tony Pollard sitting out there, and then the receivers. I mean, DJ Moore was out there. I guess Ryan, you dropped him somewhat recently.
I just dropped him, but yeah, I mean they've been looking better.
Mark Cooper, Khalil Shakir, guys out there that can put. Oh, Jaden Reed was out there, and he put up 2 touchdowns off of a few catches.
Him and Laporta.
Him and Laporta getting like 0 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Funny. Even Keenan Allen. Yeah. Anyway.
I did check to see if Jake started Keenan Allen still. I think he's been off the Keenan train a couple weeks, but it would have been pretty funny if he did.
It would have been. That would have been such a Jake thing to happen this year. All right, moving into the graphs. This is including, like, for the sleeper projection, at least, it is including what has already happened. So Ryan and Huff looking a little better than Fleming, James, and Jake. Coming off of, I mean, Fleming, James, and Jake are all projected in like the 106 to 110 range right now, and you guys are more in the 120s, and I think I'm projected like 150 at this point. Fantasy Pros also has me well above everybody. So yeah, spoiler alert. I mean, not that it's definitely going to be one of these 3, but it should be one of these 3 this week. Now that we've seen a couple guys already play. But now next week versus the rest of season, for those who would survive past this week, Jake has the worst projection for rest of season. James is the next worst, and then Huff and then Ryan Fleming are pretty even, and then here I am. So everyone's in the red except for me. Which is funny. But so in theory that just makes it fine for you 3 maybe. Should be fine. I mean, James should be a little concerned. CeeDee Lamb just really isn't getting it done. James does have fab though. He can get a couple good guys if he makes it by another week, and he probably will spend if he survives. And now position strength versus budget. I'm still up here. Ryan, you are above the average on position strength, but you have $1 left, so hence why you're down here. Jake and James are guys that if they survive, $5 and $4 respectively is enough to get you 2 probably very viable starters, even studs you could say. So if they make it past, they could be fine. And Huff and Fleming are like right around average, but they don't have a lot of fab. Well, Huff has average fab, Fleming is no fab. So that is that. And how I've put that out in summary, I'm in the solid overall. I think Ryan and Huff are kind of in the mid undetermined. They are, I think, above the bottom 3 here, Fleming, James, Jake. And I think, like I said about James and Jake, I think if either of them survives or both of them survive, that fab will do them well. I think in theory, these guys should be rooting against each other to get eliminated, because for James it'd be really good if Jake goes, because that's fab out of the market that, would bid against him, except Jake is not really putting bids out there, except he did this week for Ladd, so that Jake may be, now that we're this late in the season, willing to put bids in. And same thing for Jake. He'd probably want James to go. There's less competition for bidding if James goes. So, and then Fleming just has no fab, and he's looking a little dangerous where he is right now. So that's why he is in the danger zone. But in theory, it's really close between these 3 down here. They just have fab, so hence why I put them there. I don't know. Thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we kind of are in the long. There is no long term. Like we're kind of there. So that obviously makes this graph a little more interesting. I don't remember if you kept this all season long last year.
I didn't. But I think I'll clarify. I think by long term, I mean you're promising long term is you have upside of making it to the Final Four. I think both of these guys could. if they do that work that fab correctly and survive this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I don't. I like Fleming's team. I
I
think.
do too. I mean, don't
I
get me
don't know
wrong.
if he's. I don't know if he's in the danger zone, quote unquote. But I mean, I guess you gotta make a distinction at some point. But
Right. I mean, and it is all, to be fair, it is all relative to how far I'm skewing this. Like in this graph where everyone's in the red. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like Fleming's barely in the
yeah,
red for rest of season. So really, you and Fleming have the best rest of season projections outside of me. So in that regard, maybe he doesn't deserve to be, but he is the only zero. So like you said, got to make a distinction somewhere. And I think the zero fab doesn't help him. Is kind of my thought. But you can definitely get guys for zero fab. Like we saw James get Pickens this week for zero fab, and there's guys sitting on waivers right now that could be very, very startable. But anyway, getting into the teams, starting with me, Barkley coming in huge with 44 last week. Jacobs and Sutton. I was glad to see Sutton do his thing. I mean, I've had him all year, and he's had his ups and downs, but I'm glad I've kind of started him on the right times, it seems. But this week I got Mixon for 5, Collins for 5, Bowers for 2. I think the Bowers for 2 I'm fine with. The Mixon for 5 was not an overpay relative to what other people bid. It was the Collins for 5 that I overbid. I could have got him for 2, and then I could have still 10 fab instead of 7, whatever. We're splitting hairs. I'm still glad I'm locking in guys that I can have options come championship week. I mean, I'm thinking that's the way I need to think. Even not that I couldn't get eliminated, but I need to think about what I will do in the championship because I should expect to be there. This week, Burrow is yellow now. There's only one yellow. If you're 6th in your position relative to the rest of the league, you're yellow. So Burrow has him as the worst starting quarterback this week because of matchup. I kind of get it. I'm not concerned, like I said, given who has already started for me with Bowers and what's his face, Josh Jacobs. So I'm okay. I'm chilling. Wait, does this not have Justin Jefferson? I'm just realizing this right now. I was like, why does it have Kenneth in there?
wow,
Who'd it pull
yeah.
up? Justin Jefferson against Arizona? In what world is that not? First off, worse than Jamar, and Jamar has Pittsburgh, so like in theory that's bad. Anyway, that's kind of crazy. Sleeper projection has Jefferson in like the 13s, Jamar at 15, Nico Collins at 14, and then Kenneth Walker at 14. Yeah, okay, wow. Whatever. I'm starting Justin Jefferson. Why in the world would I not? But anyway, Ryan and I did that Herbert Lamar trade last week for the 5 fab. Just to mention that was a late last week trade. Seems like forever ago at this point, but I have my tough matchup obviously as Burrow at Pittsburgh versus Pittsburgh. We're at home. And yep, that is it for me. I'm loving the look of this. I want to keep this going. I'm really trying to. I think JC had a pretty crazy run last year on like his accolades. I'm trying to pass him. I forget what his was, but I want to have the most positive accolades ever. I think this is the year to do it. James coming in second last week, getting a flame. The last flame that'll be given out this year. He had a tough start to the week so far with the CeeDee Lamb and who else? I mean, he's in the bottom 3 for sure this week. Yeah, the CeeDee Lamb 5 points, and that's it. Actually, Mahomes with 17 is pretty average. I think you'd want more than that at this point in the year. But he acquired Pickens for 0 fab. I think could be. It's a risky play to hold on to the fab. He could have bid on someone and got him, but getting Pickens for 0 is he's probably happy with that. He's going to start him as his wide receiver 2/3 with Higgins alongside Lamb. He's got a decent lineup this week. I don't hate it. What I think could be bad. It's funny how, I think both can be true. Burrow versus Pittsburgh is a tough matchup, but also Steelers D at Cincinnati is a tough matchup. I think it goes both ways.
I would agree.
Other than that, I could have said T. Higgins versus Pittsburgh, but then I'd be putting, every Bengals player, because I think... Spoiler alert, I think I have Chase Brown versus Pittsburgh as a tough matchup too, but anyway, we can move on, and that gets, Ryan's at the end. You have Chase Brown, don't you, Ryan?
I do.
Yeah, so spoiler on that. Hey, Jake made a waiver claim. Progress. And he gained Jonnu and Lions defense, all starters in his lineup.
Yeah, Jonnu's awesome.
Jonnu, great start, 10 catches for over 100 yards, and Lions defense was serviceable enough, but I liked the start anyway. 6 points, and then where he kind of dudded a little bit. Not horrible. They're not duds, but right now they kind of are. 8 points from DeAndre and 9 points from Gibbs isn't really going to help you too
Not
much.
ideal.
You need other guys to pop off. You feel better with like a mid-teens number from either of those guys. But Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have been able to carry their weight. And then you got a high ceiling from Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, and McConkey. So he's got some high ceiling guys that could also bust. So we'll see. Jake is on the block this week, and Ryan, is your prediction. Flowers versus Philly. Going back to the Quinion Mitchell guy.
One. Yeah.
I think that's why the Flowers should be a tough matchup. I could see a dud. I am predicting a dud from Flowers this week. I know Jake isn't watching, so he's not going to change his mind. I'm trying to trade him someone that I think would be a better play in his flex than Zay Flowers, but he's not biting on it yet.
Yet.
We'll see. I think he Flowers been his guy this whole year, so I have a hard time believing he bails on him now. / watches these videos / starts to care. Huff's team. Pollard was his high scorer last week. He grabbed CMC for $4. I think I had a $3 bid on CMC. I'm not like dead. I mean, I had a higher bid on Mixon, so that tells you how I feel about him. I'm not sold on CMC right now. I don't think he immediately helps me. I think give it a few weeks and the Niners might figure it out, and what's his face? Purdy will be back and things will be better, but right now I don't love him, especially if Brandon Allen's playing this week. So that was my thought on him. Still a good player to have. Helps him, definitely improves his team. Achan's been insane. Achan already played and did? Oh, he did well. He scored once or twice, didn't he?
He's fine. I think Huff is in good shape. He's got Tyreek and Achan, who gave him, I think, like 18 and 17. So.
Yep, exactly. 17. Yep, he's at 34. Good start for Huff for sure. He got Bucky
Ironically,
Irving.
I think they were both at like less than 2 at halftime. So he got
they figured
pretty
it out.
Huge.
And Tyreek Hill was off a deflection. His touchdown. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
It was like a slant to Jonnu, and it like tipped off his hands because it got broken up, and then it just popped into Tyreek's hands in the end zone.
That's pretty wild.
So it shouldn't have even happened, but it happened. I have his tough matchup as Drake London versus the Chargers. In theory, look across his lineup, he doesn't have that many tough matchups. There are a lot of greens, so this is the semi-hardest matchup that he has. Bucky Irving in the lineup is interesting. I think
I like it.
It's not a bad play, but I would say that is a spicy play right there because there's
I like it.
Absolutely a low floor to be had there, but a high ceiling. He has been the RB6 and the RB3 the last 2 games that he played, getting only 50% of the snaps too.
It's crazy.
And 12 carries in both the games. Catches, he's getting some catches. Looks like it seems like Rachaad White early in the year was like he was getting consistent 3 to 5 catches a game. Not that that's tapered off, but now Bucky is getting some work in the passing game recently, as it looks like. So 7, 3, 3, 6 catches in the last 4 games. So it's pretty serviceable. Gives him a higher floor if they keep that up. So I don't hate it. He didn't start Neighbors because he started Hill instead of Neighbors. So Neighbors is on his bench, and he put up 11. So he probably wouldn't have been mad if he started that, but he passed on it. And he's also benching James Conner, which I think I like that play. I probably would have had that as my tough matchup of the week if he started him against Minnesota. So, yep, he's got DK on the bench too. DK at New York Jets. I think that's another risky play if he were to play it. Low floor, high ceiling guy. So I like his odds this week, unless all his guys dud. But $3 left for Huff. Fleming picking up the last Ice Cube of the year. Terry McLaurin came in big. If you think about it, if Terry McLaurin did not have the 86-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, Fleming would be dead. So you could say about a lot of things, but that was a pretty unlikely thing to happen. That happened.
And getting 18 from the D is not something that's
18.
Pretty reliable either.
Oh yeah, you're right. Texans D. So Fleming made the right picks last week and got a good roll of the dice, so to speak. So now he adds Amon-Ra back to the team for $1. He had him earlier this year. He didn't draft him, but he had him earlier this year. I think he did a trade with Johnny. I was looking back at the history. Johnny traded him to him.
30 fab for McLaurin. Or McLaurin and 30 fab for
Amon-Ra.
Yep.
Now he's got both those guys back, Amon-Ra and McLaurin. Adds the Philly defense, Taysom Hill, Ramondre. He's starting the first 3 of those, Amon-Ra, Philly D. Taysom, Amon-Ra already kind of put up a bit of a dud, so to speak, in what we know he can do. What did he put up? 9 points, 10 points, so not terrible, not great. He also started Pacheco, who the analytics did not have as the best option on his lineup. They think Ramondre was a better option slightly. They play the Colts this week.
They would probably be right.
They would probably be right. I mean, to be fair, it is the Raiders, and Pacheco's was good pre-injury, but I think it's a little scary to start a guy that's coming off his first game back from an injury. So there was definite risk there, and he took on that risk and paid the price. But he's got some other good guys in his lineup. Puka seems to have Puka's a guy who we haven't talked about him specifically in terms of the floor, but he has a great floor.
I think he's better than Cup.
He is a safer option in this league than Cup. He has a higher floor than Cup.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I mean, Cup he scored 16, but he had a bad game last week and was absolutely shut down. And Puka had, I think, 16 as well. But he had a great game, he was awesome. So, yeah, I think Puka's awesome.
Puka, now that he's, fully up to speed, back from injury, and his last 3 weeks, he's been a top 10 wide receiver almost every week. Yeah. He's averaging double-digit targets, almost 10 catches a game, and averaging over 100 yards a game.
And did he have a touchdown? How many touchdowns did he have over that span?
One over the last 3 weeks, but it doesn't seem to matter if he does or not.
That's what I'm saying, is, Cup is the beneficiary of just, a garbage time touchdown to, keep pace with Puka. Puka's not even getting the touchdowns, and he's doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah. The trade, I'll mention the trade for Hunt for Brown, because that was a 1 week thing where Brown was on bye last week and Fleming wanted to have someone to start, so he grabs Kareem Hunt, who's on his probably last week starting before Pacheco returns, because he also had Pacheco. So, but I don't know. Chase Brown, you could see as a starter for a little bit longer, obviously, than Hunt having realistically 1 more week left at the time. Chase Brown's probably a better start than Ramondre or than Pacheco next week. I don't know.
I will say, though, I would agree. I do think he did it for last week, and I think he was going to start Debo if he didn't get Hunt, and Hunt got 11, and Debo got 4? 4? Yeah, so I don't know if that would have put him.
It would have been close.
Out. But it would have been really close. So I would argue that Hunt, even though I guess, if he would have been safe, Hunt could have potentially saved him. One less point from Debo or something. But
sure.
Which is why you do it. Which is why you do it.
It's fair. It's fair. But now you have Brown. You're probably happy you have him. I think he's still
love to have him.
Flex play at this point. We'll see how he does against the Steelers.
According to even against the sleepers, I think he's my top projected running back. So
against the Steelers?
Against the Steelers, he is the top projected running back I have, and that included Kyron, Brees, and Monty.
He's projected higher than all of them?
Yes.
I don't get that. I guess it's the receiving upside. It's guaranteed he gets catches.
Brees gets a bunch of catches, but yeah.
That is wild to me. I don't completely disagree with it, but it's still pretty interesting to me.
I agree.
I think the other interesting thing for Fleming's team is having Taysom at tight end this week. I don't hate it, but it's definitely a volatile play, and I think
high ceiling, low floor.
Exactly. So he's rolling the dice on those again. There's guys like Njoku, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Goddard, Kate Otten. These are not bad options on waivers. So
Laporta was probably on waivers.
Who?
Laporta was probably on waivers.
Was on waivers. I don't know. Mark Andrews is looking juicy.
Yeah, good ad.
Zach Ertz. We'll see. I don't hate the play. Let me educate myself. I know he had the crazy week 2 weeks ago, but then did he come back down to earth, or was he on bye?
I don't know.
He was on bye. That's what happened. So the weeks before that, he put up 6 and 14.
Okay.
And the 6 points came from the 14 came with a touchdown. So if he doesn't score, every week he doesn't score, he scores 6 points or less. So that's your ceiling if he's not going to score, in theory. So you need him to score. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But
All right, I got to hustle, Eric.
oh yeah, hustle. Bijan, LA versus Chargers, tough matchup. Not really, but he doesn't have a lot of tough matchups. All right, Ryan, your team. Like I said, Chase Brown versus Pittsburgh, tough matchup. You did a lot of trades last week with the Lamar, the Chase Brown. We already touched on those. You added Jaden Daniels and Kyler. Jaden Daniels and Lamar are both on bye next week, week 14. So Kyler is your guy, I guess, for week 14 against Seattle. But there may be better options come that time. But I guess you're locking in someone you might consider to start at that point. DJ Moore, who actually you already dropped, so that doesn't need to be on there. Chiefs D, you rolled with them this week again against your
better judgment,
I guess. But they put up 7, so that's serviceable enough for a defense.
Good enough. Yeah.
Kyron,
but
put as the worst RB1 right now.
But that's fair. That's fair.
Chase Brown over Brees, so as the RB2. So I guess the analytics really like Chase Brown. I'm a Bengals fan, and I do like Chase Brown, but I just feel like Brees in my head is like better than Chase Brown, but whatever. Kupp and Mike Evans. Mike Evans, he didn't do too much last week, didn't he?
No, but they were up 50 points, so.
You're right. At Carolina, I feel like that's always a good matchup for him. I don't know why. In my head, I feel like I remember him always scoring against Carolina. I'm not going to go look right now, but and Travis Kelce gave you a nice 10 points. That'll do it. You got your floor. Medium.
I'm getting all these floors.
Moderate
all
floor
these floors.
Monty, 14.
Well, I was going to say Kelce was a good floor. 7 for 70 with 14 targets and 7 points from the Chiefs. Another kind of floor, but might be good enough.
Right, and like your floor from Kyron's probably about 8. Brees Hall, your floor is something similar. Chase Brown, I would say, has
Kyron's got New Orleans this week. He's got to do something.
You would think so.
You would think that's a good matchup for him. So hopefully they can blow the doors off him. Yeah.
Right, and Lamar should be Lamar. Even
safe regardless.
Against a tough Philly defense, I think he'll be okay still.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for Ryan. $1 left. Grab first trash can actually of the year. I didn't realize. I thought it was your second. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just messed it up. Anyway, Johnny getting eliminated, as we all mentioned. I mean, he was in position to win it all. A couple duds from his starters, his studs, so to speak, really did him in. And yeah, his third highest score was a single-digit score, so that's never what you want to see late in the season. So 41 fab is what he had. Really, and he came off the 180-point week, and it's just the way it goes sometimes. So that's all she wrote for Johnny. All right, my power rankings. Really, all that happened here is everyone bumped up 1 except for me because Johnny was at 2. Except I have Ryan. I flipped Ryan and Fleming. I think Ryan's looking a little better than Fleming this week. Or, well, not this week, rest of season. Given that you have 1 fab, he has 0, and I think your team just looks better than his right now. So, yeah, I think staying the same here. I mean, Huff at 2 is like, that could be changed. I mean, everyone after me is it's very close. Not that I'm trying to just like keep hyping myself up, but like I think it is a close race for everyone else. I don't know. Thoughts, Ryan? Agree?
No, I mean,
am I too high on my team?
No, I mean, I think you're number 1. So I'm no disagreement there. I was glad to see myself move up selfishly. But yeah, and I think I liked my team. Glad the rest of the public's coming around to it. So I think the projections. would back that. So, yeah, you are the public. I think the projections would back that. So yeah, but no disagreements here.
Yeah. And before I give my prediction, I do think, first giving my general prediction, I think it has to be one of these 3. If it isn't, I'd be surprised. If it's Ryan or Huff, especially if it's me, I'd be extremely surprised. This week, that is. Fleming, James, Jake is who it comes down to. Ryan has already said he picks Jake. Going with Fleming again. I said Fleming last week, and I didn't think I was going to go him again, but after looking at how the first couple games went and looking at who he has left, I think there's some, like, even Terry McLaurin, we didn't mention it on his slide. I think Terry McLaurin against Tennessee could be a tough matchup. Tennessee seems to just have a good defense. And then Taysom Hill, if he puts up a dud, there you go. But we're kind of splitting hairs at this point in the season. Everyone has good teams. Everyone has good players. It's just who's going to put up a dud, and he already got Pacheco putting up 5, and Amon-Ra not going off either. So that's what I got. Texans D at Jacksonville should be great. That could save him again. Jeez,
Yeah, although I
Texans
think
D has
T-Law's,
been...
I think T-Law's back though.
I don't care. I mean, they put up 11 against Detroit. And that was that 5 interception game, and then 21 against Dallas and 18 against Tennessee the last 3 weeks. So the Texans D has been elite right now. So that is still my prediction. Still going with Fleming. What?
No, they've been losing, which is crazy.
They've been losing, but they've been putting up good defensive scores.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But yeah, I think it'll be a close week. And I mean, obviously, I would love to think that I'm safe. However, I've gotten 14, 7, and 10. That's not like
You're not blowing it out of the park yet.
I don't feel like as safe as I think you're making it out to be. I think Puka is due for a breakout game, and Jake gets all of a sudden a breakout, and who knows, So I don't feel incredibly safe, but we'll see. So
yeah, I mean, good point. It's just the sleeper projections make that you're like 20 points projected higher than them, but I know projections are projections.
And that's factoring in 17 from Chase Brown,
Yeah, do we really think that's happening? Maybe.
I would love it, but who knows?
Who knows? We'll see. All right,
team.
I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for hopping on, Ryan.
Don't get guillotined.
All right, don't get chopped. See you guys.